Thank you for joining us for this lunchtime news broadcast, where we catch up on the news making headlines across Namibia and expanding to the rest of the continent and the globe. In the news today, Parliamentary Standing Committee discusses regulation of land ownership by foreign nationals in Namibia. Ministry of Mines and Energy funds 40 million Namibian dollars for electrification of 183 households in Tsumkwe. South Africa declares state of disaster after deadly floods, while Sudan investigates social worker for leaking state secrets to the UN. We also take a look at the news headlining today's daily newspapers, and we bring you the latest sports updates, economic news, and more international headlines. I am Ashwin Berry, and this is NMH at 1. In today's midday news update, land ownership by foreign nationals in Namibia is being discussed by the Parliamentary Standing Committee on Natural Resources starting today. The Standing Committee will conduct public hearings until 27 April with various stakeholders on a petition submitted to the National Assembly by the affirmative repositioning activists calling for the regulation of land ownership by foreign nationals in Namibia, amongst others. After the break, we have a look at today's visual news stories. Stay with us. Let's get into today's visual news clips. Sinored commissioned a 33 kilovolt power line from Marula Boom through Mkata village to Mangeti June in Mangeti June last week, funded by the Ministry of Mines and Energy to the tune of 40 million Namibian dollars, which sees the electrification of 183 households, 150 in Mangeti June, 30 at Rooidag Hek, and 3 teachers' houses at Mkata. Enzo Amwele was there.
Honorable Governor, I would like to thank you for taking us through an overview of the electrification program in the whole of our Tsumkwe region, so that it becomes a well-known fact that we are not only in Mangeti, we are not only in the Tsumkwe constituency, we are in the whole of our Tsumkwe and the whole country of Namibia. We are gathered here today at Mangeti June settlement to celebrate the service delivery, marking the successful completion and to commission the Mangeti June electrification project. Indeed, this project fits in the aspiration of our Vision 2030 that Namibia's economy is open, competitive, and diversified, providing the basis to avail resources for the fulfillment of major national objectives like poverty reduction and the provision of adequate social services and infrastructure facilities such as transport and communication network, electricity, housing, and water. Goal number 7 of the Sustainable Development Goal calls to ensure access to affordable, reliable, sustainable, and energy for all. This project will lead to new economics and jobs, empowerment of women, children, and youth, better education and health, equitable and inclusive communities, and greater protection from and resilience to climate change.
This afternoon, at this very auspicious occasion, which mark a very important milestone in the life of the community of Mangeti June and the Tsumkwe constituency in general. Tsumkwe constituency has been lagging behind in many aspects development for a quick sometimes due to its remoteness and vast area.
Is key. Electricity is not a luxury, but an enabler. It is an enabler and brings about the necessary developments into an area. Today we are witnessing the electrification of a 33 kilowatt voltage line that stretches for 120 kilometers, Honorable Deputy Minister. One of the key things as we were busy with this line was that we should make sure that the whole Tsumkwe West is covered and every inch of it is electrified.
Now lighting up of Mangeti officially today, keeping to the commitment of the Ministry of Mines and Energy and the Government of the Republic of Rural Electrification. Congratulations once again. So now it's lights up. The street lights are on.
Now, in our next visual news story, the Ministry of Health and Social Services, in partnership with the Ministry of Education, Arts and Culture, on Thursday hosted the official launch of the COVID-19 school vaccination campaign at Flamingo Secondary School in Walvis Bay. Nicanor Nangolo was there.
Sorry.
Preceded by information sharing, which will allow the parents to give informed consent prior to their children being vaccinated. As much as the target population for the school vaccination campaign is for the children between the age group 12 to 17 years, we also want to safeguard those who are entrusted with the responsibility for opening that future for them. So hence we are saying no one will be left behind, and the teams that will be reaching out to schools will be ready to provide vaccination services to everyone who is eligible and willing to be vaccinated. This means that when the teams are reaching out to the different schools within the region, they will then have available the different types of vaccines that are required by everyone who is eligible, regardless of your age. So hence we are saying we are going to schools, but that does not exclude, the communities within the vicinities, or the teachers, or the employees within specific schools. So we are saying let's all hold hands and support this campaign. Lastly, I want to mention that getting vaccinated is an important part of managing COVID-19. However, in addition to that, we still need to maintain the preventative measures of keeping the safe distance, avoiding crowds, wearing a well-fitted mask that is covering both your mouth as well as your nose, keeping our indoor spaces well ventilated, as well as cleaning our hands regularly. As it was mentioned by the previous speaker, we are actually hopeful and optimistic that this vaccination campaign will be a success, and we actually call upon each and every one of you to work together and we'll make this a success.
A truly essential initiative. Now, when we return, we'll be taking a sneak peek inside Namibia's daily print publications. But first, a quick break.
Have you received a loan from NSFAF? NSFAF loan is the same as any other loan. It must be paid and settled. NSFAF has a set of guidelines on how you can repay your loan and become debt-free. Therefore, it is important that you, a former beneficiary and a responsible Namibian, show your patriotism by helping pay back your loan and thus helping NSFAF become a revolving fund for the benefit of future potential students. By failing to pay back your NSFAF loan, you risk being blacklisted or having a court order against you. So arrange with the fund to pay back your loan today. For more information on how you can repay your loan, visit our website at www.nasfaf.na or visit our Facebook page or Twitter. Do the right thing and hashtag #paybackthemoney.
Thank you for staying with NMH at 1. Let's have a look at what the lead stories are in Namibia's daily newspapers. On its page 1, the Namibian Sun reports on the National Assembly, which has come under fire for roping in the State Finance Act to deal with 3 culprits found guilty of stealing money, sidelining the Anti-Corruption Commission and the police, while allegedly concealing theft of public funds over $5 million Namibian dollars and quietly dismissing the culprits. On page 3 of the Namibian Sun, it is reported that a High Court judge issued a stern warning to an Otapi magistrate this month for defective legal proceedings in which a man was sentenced to 1 year imprisonment for the theft of 2 tires worth 4,000 Namibian dollars. The Republican reports that the south of the country is currently suffering from an unprecedented locust plague, of which the end is not yet in sight. Farmers and workers are tired and financially exhausted. Many of the older farmers have experience with fighting locusts, but even they say this year's locust plague is unheard of. The Republican also reports that the deputy chairman of Russia's Foreign Affairs Council, Andrei Klimov, during a virtual meeting with more than 50 journalists from all over Africa, on Friday said that they are not at war with Ukraine. He said that it was not a conflict between Russia and Ukraine, but between the West and Russia. The Allgemeine Zeitung reports that the High Court has ruled that evidence which police officers found at a Windhoek guest house where 2 American murder suspects were staying before their arrest in 2011 may be used as evidence in their trial. The Allgemeine Zeitung also reports that the government has spent millions in recent years to bring investors to justice, a move that has secured billions in pledges, but in reality, little to nothing. More news from today's dailies after this short break. Let's continue with today's dailies. The Namibian reports that the Namibian Ports Authority is scouting for an international port terminal operator to take over the Walvish Bay Container Terminal on a 25-year concession. The Namibian also reports that the Oshakati Town Council agreed to sell a prime piece of land to a close corporation of businessman Erastus Chico Shapumbata at a ridiculously low price of 2.5 million Namibian dollars before the deal was stopped by the Urban and Rural Development Minister. In the new era, it also reported that Parliament came under fire for allegedly sweeping corruption under the carpet after staff saw 1.2 million Namibian dollars. In the new era, it is also reported that declining transaction volumes are mostly to blame for a notable contraction in the country's average house prices. The Zone reports about Chantal Mouton, who is a young farmer that started tapping into the industry at just 21 years old. Now, according to the Market Watch, although Namibia has climbed 18 positions on the Policy Perception Index of the latest Fraser Institute survey of mining companies report, the country remains one of the 3 African jurisdictions that needs to improve its score. When we return, we share more on this and other economic news stories. But first, a quick break. Thank you for staying with NMH at 1. Let's get into your economic news stories. Although Namibia has climbed 18 positions on the Policy Perception Index of the latest Fraser Institute survey of mining companies report, the country remains one of 3 African jurisdictions that needs to improve on this score. The Fraser Institute's 2021 report, released last week, ranked Namibia 29th out of 84 jurisdictions worldwide on its PPI. In the previous report, Namibia was ranked 47th out of 77. On the African continent, Namibia was ranked as the second most favorable jurisdiction on the PPI, up from 5th in 2020. Morocco clinched the top spot. As far as Namibia's PPI is concerned, the country improved by only 0.94 points from 74.30 to 75.24 out of a possible 100. This is still far less than the 87.22 it scored in 2019 and 80.71 in 2018. Despite Namibia's improvement on the overall PPI index, the 9 individual responses on Namibia's policy environment in the survey were negative. Now, despite overall food inflation dropping to its lowest level in more than a year, the price monster sunk its claws deep into staple foods. The latest data of the Namibia Statistics Agency shows overall food inflation in March was 4.7%, down from 5.5% the previous month, and its 12-month peak of 7.7% in June 2021. Bread and cake flour shot up 11.9%, up from 9.1% in February and 3.8% in March 2021. Inflation for breakfast cereals came in at 4.9%, an increase of 2 percentage points compared to February and the highest in more than a year. Baby foods and cereals catapulted from 6.4% in February to 10.1% last month. A year ago, the rate was 0.5%. Consumers' saving grace was rice, which entered its second month of deflation. Last month, rice recorded a rate of 0.8%, that's minus 0.8%, compared to 16.6% in March 2021. March's inflation rates for cooking fats nearly doubled from the previous month. At 36.6%, it is only the highest in more than a year, but also a massive jump from 2.7% of March 2021. Let's get into today's economic indicators. The Namibian dollar maintains its value against the Chinese yuan and the euro, while going down against the US dollar and up against the pound. First Rand Namibia Limited stock prices are down 3.90% and Lesego Holdings of Namibia is down 0.40%. The NSX has observed a local index increase of 0.96%, while the overall index is down 0.7%. All these major commodities have gone down in value, with the exception of Brent crude oil, which has increased by 1.02%. Now, at least 6 people were injured yesterday following a terrorist fire attack on Somalia's parliament. Stick around for the full story after the break.
Choose your Flex package with Paratus today. Sign up for ultra-fast fiber with the convenience of mobile LTE. That's 2 products in 1 bundle. It's new, it's 1 bill, and you can stay connected in more than 1 location.
For more information, visit paratus.africa/NA.
Always prepared. Paratus.
You are still watching NMH at 1. We now take a look at the latest news in our neighboring countries. We will later extend to the rest of the globe. Now, terrorist group Al-Shabaab has claimed responsibility for a mortar fire attack on Somalia's parliament on Monday that injured at least 6 people during a joint session. Explosions were heard in the middle of a parliamentary session where several people were injured, but no elected officials were hit by the shrapnel that landed in the fortified airport compound near Parliament in the capital, Mogadishu, officials and eyewitness report. We don't have details yet, but these explosions were caused by mortar fire. The lawmakers were inside the building when the incident happened, a security official told AFP. Parliamentarians were due to set dates for votes to appoint the president of the two legislative chambers, the next step in a long-delayed process to elect a new president to lead the country. The upper house will vote on 26 April and the lower house the following day to appoint their respective leaders. Now, President Cyril Ramaphosa of South Africa has declared a state of national disaster. This comes a week after terrible floods left at least 443 people dead in the Durban area on the East Coast. The cabinet met in a special session and decided to declare a state of national disaster. The head of state said in a televised address yesterday, referring to the situation as a humanitarian disaster. Some 10,000 troops have been deployed to the affected areas to assist the overwhelmed relief effort. The week-long downpour has led to deadly floods and landslides in KwaZulu-Natal. Thousands of people have been displaced and some areas have been without water and electricity since Monday. Water tankers are trying to bring in drinking water, but roads and bridges are still cut off. Rescue workers remain on alert, but a week after the disaster began, hopes of finding survivors are slim. Now, the ruling military junta in Bamako has received a new shipment of Russian equipment for the Malian armed forces, including 2 combat helicopters and surveillance radars. We are receiving this second batch of military equipment from Russia. This is the manifestation of a very fruitful partnership with the Russian state, the Directorate of Information and Public Relations of the Armed Forces said. The official Twitter account of Mali's presidency posted images of the unloading of the cargo from the Russian cargo plane that brought the equipment to Bamako's international airport. The colonels who took over by force in August 2020 in Mali in the midst of security turmoil have drawn closer to Russia at the same time as they turned away from France. Now, Sudan investigates a social worker for leaking state secrets to the UN. More on this after the break as we move over to international news. Moving on to international news, head of combating violence against women unit Sulima Ishak was interrogated by security services for accusations of leaking state secrets to the UN envoy under Article 47 of the country's Criminal Act. Ishak, who is now worried that she'll go to prison on trumped-up charges, told Al Jazeera that because the information was presented to the Security Council, the coup forces are afraid of getting sanctioned and are now targeting her. Experts and rights groups say Ishak's case represents an escalation of a broader campaign to intimidate activists and put human rights defenders on high alert. Kholoud Kayem, manager of Khartoum-based think tank Insight Strategy Partners, told Al Jazeera that since Ishak is a civil servant, which gives her allegations more credibility in the eyes of international community. Now, Russian forces have launched their anticipated offensive in eastern Ukraine, attempting to push through defenses along almost the entire front line early on Tuesday, in what Ukrainian officials described as the second phase of the war. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said Russia had begun the Battle of Donbass in the east, and a very large of the entire Russian army is now focused on this offensive. No matter how many Russian troops they send there, we will fight. We will defend ourselves, he said in a video address on Monday. Zelensky's chief of staff, Andriy Yermak, assured Ukrainians their forces could hold off the offensive in the second phase of the war. The governor of the Russian province of Belgorod said Ukrainian forces had struck a border village, wounding one resident. Ukrainian media reported a series of explosions, some powerful, along the front line in Donetsk region. Blasts were also heard in Kharkiv in the northeast, in the southeast, while air raid sirens were also going off in main centers near the front line, officials and media said. Now, a weekend filled with football, volleyball, and netball action saw Omaruru constituency emerge as winners of the Irungo Governors Cup competition. More on this when we get into local sports news. But first, a quick ad break. Thank you for staying with NMH at 1. Let's get into your local sport. Omaruru constituency emerged as winners of the Erongo Governors Cup competition over the weekend. Walvish Bay Urban constituency won the football section after defeating Omaruru 5-2 in the final. Arandis constituency won the volleyball section after beating Karibib constituency by 2 sets. Now, while the Sokomun constituency took up honors in the netball finals against Omaruru constituency 59-29. Now, the Namibian Cycling Federation will this coming weekend host the 12th African Cycling Confederation Mountain Bike Africa Championships at the IJG Trials on a farm in Windhoek in Kleine Cooper. This year's event will see riders from South Africa, Mauritius, Tunisia, Kenya and Morocco compete against Namibians on 23 April. All the best, Namibia. Now, Namibian veteran prop Aranos Kutsia on Friday made history when he clocked an astounding 100th match for club Toyota Cheetahs in their 28-21 win over Western Province during a Currie Cup clash at the DHL Stadium in Cape Town. Now, on the international sports front, former tennis world #1 Ashley Barty is expected to play in a golf exhibition tournament. We expand more on this and other stories from the international sports scene after the break.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, welcome to another exciting edition.
Thank you for staying with NMH at 1. Let's get into your international sports stories. Former tennis world #1 Ashley Barty will play in a golf exhibition tournament, organizers said on Tuesday, heightening speculation that she could become a golfer after her shock retirement. The football world rallied around Cristiano Ronaldo and his partner Georgina Rodriguez on Tuesday after they announced that their newborn son had died. The 37-year-old Manchester United forward had revealed in a social media post last October that the couple was expecting twins. Now, Barcelona's place in La Liga's top 4 looks much less secure after they suffered a surprise 1-0 defeat at home to relegation-battling Cadiz on Monday. Lucas Perez's close-range finish early in the second half condemned Barca to a second consecutive defeat on the back of their shock exit at the hands of Eintracht Frankfurt at the Europa League on Thursday. Obviously, wishing Barca all the best. Now, after the break, we'll get into highlights from today's broadcast. Stay with us. Thank you for staying with NMH at 1. Let's get into the highlights from today's broadcast. The Parliamentary Standing Committee on Natural Resources will conduct public hearings from today until 27 April with various stakeholders on a petition submitted to the National Assembly by the affirmative repositioning activists calling for the regulation of land ownership by foreign nationals in Namibia, amongst others. Terrorist group Al-Shabaab has claimed responsibility for a mortar fire attack on Somalia's parliament on Monday that injured at least 6 people during a joint parliamentary session. Head of the Combating Violence Against Women unit under the Ministry of Social Affairs, Sulima Ishak, was interrogated by security forces for accusations of leaking state secrets to the UN envoy. Ishak, who is worried that she'll go to prison on trumped-up charges, told Al Jazeera that she is being targeted because the information was presented to the Security Council and the coup forces are afraid of getting sanctioned. Former tennis world number 1 Ashley Barty will play in a golf exhibition tournament, organizers said on Tuesday, heightening speculation that she could become a golfer after her shocking retirement from tennis. Although Namibia has climbed 18 positions on the Policy Perception Index of the latest Fraser Institute survey of mining companies report, the country remains one of 3 African jurisdictions that needs to improve on this score. Those have been your highlights. Thank you for staying with NMH at 1 and spending your lunch hour with me, Ashwin Berry. Remember to tune in on Tuesday, tomorrow, Wednesday, and the rest of the week at 1 p.m. as we take you through the latest happenings in Namibia and beyond. Stay with us for a compilation of news from across Namibia in a regional review segment. See you tomorrow.
Good day and welcome to another episode of Regional Review. I'm Kenya Kambowe, the Namibia Media Holdings correspondent in the northeastern regions. First of all, I hope our viewers had a great Easter long weekend. Meanwhile, on today's show, we'll be sharing with you highlights of events that unfolded in the northeastern regions over the past week. We also have an interview with Mr. Paulus Bangu, the Rundu Rural Constituency Councillor, who will be sharing with us some of the projects that he has implemented since he was elected into office in November 2020. In case you came with a bicycle to work or you went with one to school, just know that in history today, it's Bicycle Day. So check out the next video. Welcome back to the new segment on Regional Review. As you all know that we just concluded our Easter weekend, and normally the Easter weekend is very eventful in terms of crime. However, in the Kavango East region, not much has happened apart from 2 incidents that were reported in the daily crime report as availed yesterday. One of the incident was a pensioner who hanged himself or committed suicide at Satotwa village in Kavango East region, as well as a 13-year-old boy who last week Friday was attacked and killed by a crocodile at Opapama village. On a sad note as well, the family of a 9-year-old boy who was struck by a crocodile at Rujarara village also expressed their disappointment, or they still feel hurt by the fact that they haven't yet recovered the body of their loved one. The 9-year-old boy was herding goats with one of his friends when they went to the river to let the livestock go and drink water. As he also attempted to drink water, the crocodile struck him, and ever since that day, which is the 2nd of April, he hasn't been found yet. The family are still hopeful that his body might be recovered. Attempts to track down to trace the crocodile has not been fruitful. And meanwhile, if if you look at Mupapama, where a boy was attacked on Friday, as well as Runjarara, the distance is not that much. So basically in that area, there are a lot of crocodiles. And so residents are urged also by the local councillors and all that to refrain from making use of the river more that often. Our second story is about Road Fund Administration CEO Mr. Ali Ipinge, who shared his disappointment over how Runtown Town Council has been maintaining roads. This is what he had to say.
And certainly from where we were in January and where we are now, there has been no improvement, except on the road that we are talking about. And that, of course, is a special intervention that the Roads Authority, Road Fund Administration, the Runtown Town Council, supported by a competent team from the contractor side and the supervisor, that we're able to deliver on that project. But on the normal program allocation that we provide to the Runtown Town Council to maintain their roads, sadly there has been no movement since January this year. Despite the fact that a contractor has been appointed, I'm informed, despite the fact that there's a consulting engineer appointed to supervise the work, there has been no visible improvements on the roads. And in fact, I was telling my colleagues, after I had driven the road with the CEO, I almost reached a point of depression. And it might sound like a joke, but if you have got a contractor appointed for 4 months, they have received a budget through RFA to the Runtown Town Council to make sure that the road users in Rundu enjoy particularly pot-free roads on the bitumen road. And I'm informed that there has been no single pothole fixed since January. And then I think this is, and I'm not making this up, but I think this is just a continuation of what the Honorable Wakudumo had to say about his observation. And because of that, we have, as an organization, duty towards the road user that contribute to the road fund to make sure that they get value for money on the contribution that they make. So certainly it cannot be business as usual, and certainly we'll be having one-on-one conversation with the Runtown Town Council in the coming week as to how do we then change the way we do business.
Honorable Mbangu, thank you very much for making time for us. Can you just tell us some of the projects or some of the issues that are affecting the community that you've addressed since you've been elected the councillor for Rundu Rural Constituency?
Yeah, no, thank you very much for that question. Basically, during our campaign, we were very much clear, and one of our motto was unity, progress, as well as development. The issue that we picked up during our campaign is that people have no access to clean water, most of them in the constituency, especially those ones living alongside the river. And then there was also issue of poor road infrastructures, issues of electricity, poverty, and so on. But ever since we took office, because I've been in office now about in a year and 5 months, I think the next month it will be the sixth month. We have tried a lot. We have drilled boreholes. We have drilled borehole at Makandina. We have drilled and installed borehole at Makandina, Kawe, Mbora, Kumezao, Mazana. And recently, this week, we've installed another borehole again at Manangombe, along the gravel road. And we have drilled again an additional 3 boreholes at Wazanga, Uvunguvungu, Mtengo Mkuru, as well as Shipanda. We're just waiting for the lab results so that we can also install it. Hopefully, I think we might install it next month. And then we have also tried also to help our community with water pipeline, especially at Tsumkwe. At Tsumkwe, there's a borehole already, but then people are also working a long distance. So what we did with the VTC, we have also tried to put water pipeline. And in Tsumkwe now, if you go in Tsumkwe today, there are different types of borehole, trying to shorten the distance for the communities. We have also put water pipeline at Kaparara village, deep in the inlet, so that at least people don't walk a long distance again to go to the water point. And we'll be doing the same. We are having the same project in Njanja. We're going to do the same in Njanja. And at the moment now, as I'm talking to you today, Namu Water, they are busy also putting water pipeline. Actually, we are starting with the Kayengona River scheme. Because at this village at Kayengona, there's Maria Mungere Secondary School. The water that they're using in the secondary school is too salt. And the government spent millions of dollars for maintenance to replace those pipes at the school. So we came up with the river scheme project. We had an engagement with the board of directors of Namu Water, the CEO of Namu Water, but now they've already started. They've already started putting water pipeline. I think they already have a filter in Rundu, and hopefully by the mid of May, that project will be completed. Some of the issues that we are doing, apart from that, we've also been providing also electricity, especially at Mayana. We have put electricity there for the first time since independence, because the village never had electricity before. And the next project is we are going to start at Mtengo Mukuru to also to put electricity there. And the community of Kambo and the community of Ngaramateya, they've also assembled little fund on their own. So we'll also chip in so that we can also help them to have electricity at those villages. Apart from that, we've also been trying to help the less privileged people in our community. We've been building houses to the less privileged. We built houses to some of the mentally challenged people. One at Manangombe, another one at Mapupu, then at Ngondo. We've also built houses also to those that we felt that they are less privileged. And apart from that, we've also erected structures for the elderly people, the pensioners. Because at the peak point where they are, if there's rain, normally they used to face challenges. They might even have to run away because of rain. But now what we did is that we came up with a project of putting structures so that at least they have shade when they wait for their money. They are at least in the shade. We've done that at Muhopi, we've done that at Kambo, we've done that at Uvungu. And next week again, we're going to build another structure again at Ngone to help our elderly people. Apart from that, we've also been providing, also helping, working together with the Minister of Home Affairs. Last year, the Minister of Home Affairs, they went through villages to villages. Literally, we visited all the villages in the Rundu Rural to try also to bring that service closer to the people, to give people the national document. Those that meet the requirement, they were able to get national document, birth certificate, and so on. And some of them were also captured ID, provided that they meet now the requirement. Yeah, we are also fortunate. We also invited the ED for the Minister of Home Affairs, Mr. Maritz, went together with him deep in the inlet to go and see for himself the situation on the ground. I was very much impressed with the team, the Home Affairs team. They were hard at work. I'm also grateful for Maritz that he also understands the situation that is on the ground, as well as our team also here in Rundu, Deputy Director Shipena, and the others. Yeah, apart from that, I think that exercise will continue again this year. By July, we will still invite Home Affairs so that we can also go in, because there are many people that are still in need of that service. Some of them cannot be able to travel a long distance to go to Rundu to access those services. Sometimes a person might come there, then he's told that now you don't have there's one document missing. Now once he goes back, he'll not be able to get money again to hike back. So we'll still be doing that exercise. It's a continuous exercise actually. Yeah, and apart from that, in Rundu Rural, we also have an agenda which is among the conflicting priorities. We also prioritize sport. We break sport in Rundu Rural because sport was also neglected in the past. So last year we had 2 tournaments. The Rundu Rural Youth Annual Cup, which was for $25,000, and then another one, it was in December. Normally we have two tournaments every year. So this year we're having another tournament that is slated for the 30th of April. And so it's not for profit making. It's just to make the youth to participate in sport. So there will be soccer, netball, as well as butu. Butu is a traditional ball game. We are trying to promote it as well, so that maybe in future if we can also become one of the sport code at Olympic. Yeah. So the May tournament is only for the Rundu Rural, but the December tournament is an open one, so that we can also expose our young people to compete with others at the highest level. So every December holiday they test, they compete with others now at a higher level. So to us, sport is very much important. We are trying to raise the profile of sport in the constituency. And secondly, again, is that we are fronting sport also as one of the efforts in trying to alleviate or reduce the level of crime. Because once the youth are serious with sport, they are busy with sport activities, at least there will be very minimal cases of crime. So that is some of the thing that we are doing in the constituency.
Taking a look at the weather in the northeast, Nkrunkuru is sunny and pleasant for the rest of this week, with temperatures rising over the weekend. Rundu is sunny and pleasant also for the whole of this week, with temperatures hovering at around the 30-degree mark. The same goes for Kongola and Katima Malilo. Enjoy!
That was it from us today. Thank you very much for watching, and stay tuned for another episode of Regional Review, same time tomorrow. Enjoy the rest of your day.